Okay, so kind of an off-the-cuff video. I'm going to ramble for a little bit, but I'm hoping this is going to be useful for any other designers out there. So, this game that I'm making, Riddles of the Rockies, I have been struggling so much with what to do with it. I showed you guys in my previous video the other board game that I found, Riddles and Riches. I was looking up all these board games that have riddles in them and really not good results. There's a lot of things in common in terms of people waiting around, people, you don't want to make people feel stupid. That's another thing. And I was working actually in the office late working today, and then it came to me that what I was looking for, I already had in two of my existing games in my collection, which is called Watson and Holmes and Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So in Watson and Holmes, there's a number of locations that you can visit, and then each of those has a piece of information that ultimately will lead you to the solution. So if you think about that mechanic, and then we go back to Sherlock Holmes, where you're playing not really competitively, but more cooperatively with each other, and you're going about a map just in the same way that you would be in Riddles of the Rockies, exploring different locations. The only thing that I felt was missing from Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and also another game called Mythos Tales, which is very similar, is it would have been nice to have had a danger element to it. You go into some like house at night time, and there's a potential killer or something. There's got to be some sort of tension, and I felt that Sherlock Holmes didn't really have that. And so now I can kind of solve that problem by combining these ideas into Riddles of the Rockies. So the idea is we'd still have lots of different riddle cards, but rather than each card being a stanza, the card would be multiple stanzas and would lead you to one particular place. So if I have 90 riddles, then you can play the game 90 times in a row. And then what we would have is kind of like with Watson and Holmes is you could go about the board based on the information in the riddles. It would be like you're really trying to solve the Fen treasure in a way, and talk to locals, explore artifacts, go to museums, that kind of stuff, because the clues will be hidden. I think he hid his clues in a book, but it could be hidden somewhere within the local culture, in this game. So that's how I'm going to solve the problem. Therefore, it means the replayability factor has shot up. And also, it's more of a cooperative game now than a competitive game. And kind of the other thing I forgot to mention is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and Mythos Tales has this as well, is at the very end, you find out how the great men themselves would do, who are actually running the investigations. And of course, you can never compete with them, but you get some sort of, bracketed skill level depending on your points, so like poor, medium, expert, that kind of thing. So I would add that in as well. And I think that is the secret to make Riddles of the Rockies work. So it's been a tough challenge, a tough design challenge, and I was just waiting for it to come to me. And wouldn't you believe it's just sitting here working, not even thinking about the board game. And I happened to glance over at Watson and Holmes in my collection, and I thought, oh my God. So anyway, I had a breakthrough today, and I just wanted to share that. Sometimes you just got to look at some of your existing games and their mechanics, and if you've played enough and you've seen enough and you've got enough variety to draw from, sometimes that can give you the spark that you need.